There we are. We're good. Yay. Sisters and brothers, it's good to be with you again in your homes. And I wish I was able to give you a hug, but I'll give you an elbow instead. Or maybe a fist bump, whatever. I just want to give you an update, just to clarify some things. Obviously, you will be receiving this for Palm Sunday. This is a Palm Sunday message. And you will be receiving a Maundy Thursday message and a Good Friday message. And for Easter, as you have heard or maybe read already, we are going to be pre-recording the Easter service that we're going to have in the Memorial Garden. We're pre-recording that so that you can have that available to you on Easter morning. That's our whole objective there. We're adhering to the social distancing and 10 or less proclamation. So what I have done, I've determined that the people that will be there, 10 or less, will be the council, your elected council members. So they will be with us for this pre-recording. And then you will be blessed. I hope it's a blessing for you to see that on Easter morning as early as you wish. Maybe sunrise. Maybe you'll get up at 6 o'clock. I guess it's set about 7 o'clock on sunrise. So I just wanted to clarify that. And so now I will share with you the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. It's in the 21st chapter, beginning with the first verse. When they had come near Jerusalem and had reached Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this: 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you humble and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" The crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." And this is the gospel of our Lord. Thanks be to God. Hey, Zanna, Hosanna! Zanna, Zanna, ho! Jesus Christ, if you're divine, turn my water into wine. Prove to me that you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. Hey, Zanna, Hosanna! Zanna, Zanna, ho! Familiar words, I'm sure, to some of you, most of you probably, with those words years and years ago. The rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar captured the circus, captured the carnival of that first Palm Sunday parade. What a day. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were jammed together as they traveled up narrow little streets into the holiest of holy cities, Jerusalem. Shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. No, they hadn't heard of social distancing then. It was Passover time. And it was like a mob on Mardi Gras on Bourbon Street. And the hawkers, they were selling their goods, precious lambs and homemade matzah. Come and have your Passover meal at our table. Yes, we offer takeout meals as well. It's world famous lamb. It was voted as Jerusalem's best matzah. Indeed, you could eat right there on the dusty streets while you're smelling the dirty mules and camels, and while pilgrims are chanting prayers and Roman chariots are riding back and forth. And just like in the old movies, Mel Gibson's there, Mel Gibson and other familiar faces, they were all there. It was a mob for sure, but it was great for business. And the older kids loved it because half the time the parents didn't even know where they were. And what brought even more people to this Passover celebration was the news that had spread that Jesus of Nazareth was coming to town. His reputation was spreading like a brush fire, folks. You see, the very day before Jesus had produced that mightiest miracle yet, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. And then on the way to this holy city, he healed another blind man. And so the masses of people had heard of these miracles, and they wanted to see the miracle worker themselves. They wanted to see this healer in action, and they could just see, if they could just see another man raised from the dead, then they would be believers. Hey, JC, won't you smile at me? Jesus Christ, if you're divine, turn my water into wine. And you know, there are people like that today as well, you know. Well, that's the way it was on the first Palm Sunday. There was this group who wanted to see the Houdini of Holy Land in action. It was the big tent, so to speak, and then Jesus would be in the center ring. Kind of a circus tent environment like Sarasota, you'll see in Sarasota from time to time. But there was another group. There was another group that didn't want to see a religious carnival. No, they were much more serious. And they were looking for a political revolution. They were looking for a great political leader who would save their nation. So this town was ready to ignite, sisters and brothers, with the arrival of an expected Messiah, an expected king. Now think back, isn't it interesting that there were only really 2 times when the crowds tried to persuade Jesus to be king? The first one you remember is out in the countryside where Jesus fed the 5,000, where Jesus caused that much food to be infinitely available, and those folks wanted to make him king. Free food. Yes, indeed, let's make that guy our king. Free food. But what did he do? Jesus withdrew into the countryside. And then secondly, here on Palm Sunday, and again, what was Jesus doing? Was he standing up on the seat of his chariot and waving to the crowd like a presidential candidate with his fingers displaying the V sign for victory? No, Jesus didn't say a word. He rode in silence. And he rode a donkey into town, not a tall white stallion. Indeed, the crowd was looking for a sword being held up an olive branch of peace in his fingers. While the crowd was chanting at the top of their lungs, Hosanna to the Son of David! Hosanna to the King! But then they grew quieter and quieter, and then nothing. And by afternoon, another chant had begun. Almost in a whisper. Crucify him. And the chants became louder. Crucify him! He's an imposter. He's a fake. He's no king. What kind of king is this who not only dresses like a carpenter, but actually is one? Who builds benches and chairs all day long. He's just a carpenter from that hole-in-the-wall Nazareth. What kind of king is this who wants to rule our hearts? Who doesn't want our outer allegiance from his followers, but he wants inner love? A king who doesn't want duty, but wants hearts doing the will of God? What kind of king wants to rule our lifestyles and all our habits and our homes and our marriages and our jobs and our friendships and our time? What a strange kind of ruler. He's an imposter. Crucify him. Dear friends, we are the only religion in the world whose God gets hurt, whose God gets stabbed, who writhes in pain on the cross, who gets whipped and scourged, and who stands out, shouts out his pain, that is, to the world in the midst of his suffering on the cross. There's our God on the cross with criminals to his right and to his left. Indeed, what other religion is there where a cross becomes a throne? For some people, their image of God is our Father who art in heaven. And that's where Jesus lives, safely in heaven. A place where there is no divorce and no cancer and no Alzheimer's. A place where there's no accidents or no bombs, no wars, there's no tornadoes, there is no coronavirus. Indeed, in our minds, God is like we are. We move away from our violent neighborhoods on earth and we move to the suburbs in the sky. That is where God lives. Up there where it is safe. Removed from it all. But no, it's just the opposite. We know that our God left the safety and the sanity of heaven, and he came down to earth with us. To this violent neighborhood. God became a human being. He became one of us to suffer and to die on the cross. Our God suffers, our God cries, our God dies. Yes, our God is a God who loves his children so much that he's willing to die for them. And yes, Palm Sunday is also Passion Sunday. Passion. Let me ask, when you think of that word passion, what do you think of? Honestly now, what do you think of? What do you see? What memories are associated with that word passion in your mind? Me, I quickly think of young love. That is what I thought of was love. Growing up in Virginia, Minnesota, where it's winter pretty much 8 months of the year, there's not much of anything else to do to think about but love. Maybe your girlfriend in 6th and 7th grade. Yes, I was passionately in love with my first girlfriend. Our emotions were young, yes, but they were filled with passion. So much so that we were boyfriend and girlfriend for 7 whole months. 7 whole months. Passion. I also think of James Bond. I think of James Bond and those movies with so many love scenes and with so many different and beautiful women, and there was always a passionate embrace and a long, slobbering kiss. But when the Bible uses this word passion, this isn't what it means at all. Yes, this is Palm Sunday, but it is also Passion Sunday. And Passion Sunday is a day in which we tell the world that there was a man named Jesus of Nazareth, who stepped forward from the line, so to speak, and took the assassin's bullet, so to speak. Why? So his friends wouldn't have to die. Why? Because he taught us these words that described his very life. He said, no greater love has a person than this, that he's willing to lay down his life for his friends. This is what passion is. So yes, I used to think that passion had to do with young puppy love. Yes, I used to think that passion had to do with James Bond movies and all those passionate love scenes and slobbering kisses. And yes, I used to think that passion had to do with listening to Billy Graham and Martin Luther King listen to them preach. But later I began to understand that passion had to do with suffering. That our God, who gave birth to a baby named Jesus in a manger in Bethlehem, and then who called him to preach and to teach the good news of the gospel. That our God, who then led his Son to be nailed to a cross to suffer and die, and then later raised him from the dead to live forever, that is passion. That our God, who created beautiful caterpillars who would be transformed into butterflies and then would be released from their tombs, their cocoons, so to speak, to fly, that is passion. Hey, Zana, ho, Zana, 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 ho. Jesus Christ, if you're divine, turn my water into